Good evening and welcome to tonight's show. As you know, it's not very often that I do these, but when I have the chance to have a chat with this wonderful woman that's coming up next, it was a no-brainer. Tessa is such a lovely lady, very intelligent woman, a fantastic medium. I'm just so excited about chatting to her. I'm not going to go on for ages. But for those of you that watched our online festivals that we did last year and at the beginning of this year, Tessa came on and donated her time to us like so many other people. And the response we had, like, when's she coming back? And I missed out last time and Jolene got to talk to her. But unfortunately, because we were so busy with the events and everything, with all the lives, I didn't actually get a chance to talk to her. So when I have the opportunity, I've took it, and I'm going to stop rambling because I'm just really excited. So when I'm nervous, I get excited. I'm nervously excited and I can't stop rambling. This is where Jo normally pulls me in. But as she's not here, we are going to introduce the lovely Tessa, and I'm going to stop waffling. Hello.
Hi.
I told you I get excited and I just can't help myself.
I love it. I'm excited too.
So firstly, I'm sure there's not anybody that doesn't know who you are, because they should do. And if they don't, I want to know why not.
Why? What do you mean you don't know?
Yeah, well, you came on to one of... Thank you again for when you took part in our last festival that we did. It was very much appreciated.
Yeah,
so I want to thank you for that.
Great. It was great to talk to you guys. It was awesome. So thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. But it was great. Like I said, Jolene got to chat to you last time, and we were working out who was going to be interviewing who and who was doing what across the ridiculous amount of hours that we did, because it just kept growing and growing and growing.
Yeah.
And I said to Jo, yeah, okay, well, if you interviewed her, I'm going to have to get her to come back so I can talk to you. And here you are.
Here I am.
We've been trying to do this for how many? I don't know how long we've been trying to get together now. It's been quite a while.
I know. But finally.
I've been busy, or you're busy.
Yeah, everything happens for a reason.
It does. So, hi, Mike. Hi, Dave, Christy, Catherine. Share this out for us, please, guys. As you can tell, everyone, I'm actually on time for once, which is very unlike me.
Same here. I'm never on time, so I'm horrible.
So, Tessa, like I said, anyone that doesn't know who you are, which I don't believe that, can you just have a brief catch up and let everyone know who you are and where you're based and so on?
Yeah, so I'm a medium, and I'm actually from New York. I'm from Niagara Falls, New York. And I've been able to see things since I was, from what I can remember, about the age of 4. So I had a near-death experience where I was really sick as a kid. And luckily, my mom was on top of things, and she fought to get me into the right doctors, to which they found out what was going on. But by that time, it had started going septic through my body. So they immediately did a surgery. I was in the hospital for about 2 weeks. And yeah, so I was very close to passing if they hadn't caught that. And in the state that I was in when I had my surgeries and stuff, I remember seeing figures above my bed. My mom recollects me telling her that there was, because back then it was like 30 something years ago, they allowed my mom in the surgical room, which they would never do that now, but back then, right, they allowed her in. And so she would see, like, she was seeing what was going on with me. And when I woke up, I told her, I saw her, but then the bed was surrounded by people, and I was asking her who they were. And she's like, nobody else was there. It's just me. All the other doctors and everything were against the wall. So whatever I was seeing was spirit. And so then going up into my room, I was there for, almost a 2-week time span. I had epidurals in my back. I couldn't walk. And I remember one night having these lights come into my room. It was middle of the night. My mom was sleeping there with me. She had this cot across from me that she was sleeping on. And it was storming out. It was like a really strong lightning storm. And I was looking out the window. I looked at my mom. She was asleep, and in came these lights. And they surrounded my bed. And when I looked up at them, there was faces all in the lights, and I wasn't afraid of them. I don't know. I was confused as a kid, but I felt safe, and as fast as they came in, they left. And following that, when I ended up going home, is when I really started experiencing like heavier spirit presences and things like that. I would see this man come into my room every single night, and I talk about it a lot because it's so vividly something that I remember. But he'd come into my room every night, and then I finally got the courage to. I almost got mad. I'm not going to lie, because he would wake me up all the time, and I'm like, number one, I'm afraid of you. Number two, I don't know who you are. But I asked him who it was, and it was my uncle, who would have passed before I was born. It would have been my mom's brother.
Wow.
And so he gave me how he passed. He was wearing what he wore when they buried him, nickname. So I finally told my mom, come to find out it was my uncle, and it never stopped, since then. I started doing readings when I was actually like 16 years old. I got my first like Oracle deck. I had no idea what I was doing with it. I didn't realize I didn't need it. I just thought it was cool. I played with it, and I started doing readings. And then I just carried it along with me. I didn't know back then that I could use it so heavily in my life. I didn't realize how much I could help people. I went on to go to school as a teacher. I was going for my master's in clinical mental health counseling because I knew I wanted to help people. But even in those settings, whether it was at school or, in a clinical setting, I would read people, and I would be picking up on things. And I'm like, either I'm going to get fired, or I just need to move on from this because this isn't working. And I really just kind of took off doing readings. I started doing them in venues, large venues, in front of an audience. I did them privately with people all over the world. It led into a casino show and a larger venue show, which now that with COVID kind of settling down, I put it out there again, and we're getting that going. I have another casino show coming up this Saturday. I also did a lot of paranormal work, especially as a kid. I was super interested in it. And then I started doing criminal cases with missing persons and homicides. And so the extent of what I do as a medium, it really kind of is very broad. And it's like every day is something different with me,
Wow. So when you said that it took me a long time for me to actually get the courage to stand up in front of anyone and do like a gallery reading, because you call them gallery readings, don't you, over there? Yes. It took me a very long time to, I think I've only ever done a couple, and they were only, about 4 years ago?
Okay.
And
yeah. It's
like
it's
yourself.
It's tough. You have to be very confident. Yeah, you got to be very confident. I had an advantage though, because I started dance when I was 3 years old. So I was 3. I was on a stage since I was 3. So like large audiences, I did competitions, I did a whole bunch of stuff throughout my life. And so it didn't scare me to be up in front of an audience. Okay. So I think that it's weird, because to me, like, a stage is more comfortable to me. It's like my second home. So when I started being introduced to the idea of doing this, in a larger setting, I was like, oh, I could do that. I think I could do this. I like crowds. I've been used to it. So it's different. But for somebody who's not had that experience or not been on stage before, it could be very intimidating.
Yeah, I find it, I personally found like a really scary. Yeah. But I enjoyed it. It was good. Yeah. I was doing it for charity as well. So that kind of spurred me on, because because my first ever one I put on was actually a charity event. I did it in my dad's name, because my dad passed from cancer in 2013. So for years, I've always been doing something for charity each year. And a friend of mine said, look, come on, it's about time that you got up and did it properly. I said, what do you mean? Oh, I don't know. I said, well, you do it with me. I said, because I don't want to do it on my own. So a friend of mine, Paul, that I knew from spiritualist churches, he said, yeah, I'll do it with you. So I thought he meant like we were going to stand up and read together.
Right.
Not we're going to get up and take it in turns. So I was like, oh, I thought you meant he was going to actually stand up with me, not sit down when I start. But for doing one-to-ones in group reads and things like that, I've been done those for years, but to actually stand up in front of an audience is a big thing.
It's not for everybody. It's not for everybody.
You have huge amounts of people come to your shows too.
Yeah, the one that I had prior to COVID was almost 600 people, and it was a sold out show. And it's interesting because, there's a lot of questions about, well, with that amount of people, obviously not everybody's going to get a reading. So how does that work? Or like, what's the point of it? And I think the coolest thing about doing a larger audience like that is, no, I can't read 600 people in one night, although I wish I could. But, it's cool because what Spirit does is they piggyback. So I might be reading one person, but it could make sense to 10 other people.
Yeah.
And, even if it doesn't make sense to you personally, seeing validation happen for somebody else, seeing closure happen, having evidential things that there's no way I could have known about. I think it really gives people a sense that there is something after we die, that they really can communicate with us. And I think that no matter what, everybody in that audience leaves with some sort of positive experience. It's life-changing. It's all of those things. So I love doing it regardless. I think everybody gets their own experience from it.
Because I'm guessing from what you've just said, you do what I always say, and obviously, well, listen, because you might not think it's for you, but bits might be for you. So always listen.
Yeah.
It's the same as when you do like we do the live readings on the online ones and things like that. Yeah. We do the live shows every so often. Yeah. I always say just listen out, because that might make sense for you, but it might make sense for someone else as well at the same time. Like you just said, because that's what happens sometimes, isn't it?
It is. Yeah. And no matter what, if there's a group, whether it's Facebook Live or it's an actual audience in person, Spirit knows. And it's so strange how it happens, but I've had situations where like a small group of people is literally sitting in a huge venue, okay, and they're grouped together like this, and each one might have lost, say, a mother from cancer, and they're all kind of like, oh my God, like she's over here talking to us, but it makes sense to a lot of us. And it's weird how the universe kind of puts people together. Same thing with Facebook Live. I'll do a reading on Facebook Live, and there's multiple people who are like, God, that sounds like my dad. That sounds like my mom. And it very well could be multiple messages from multiple people.
That's what you think. It's like I said, like with me, I started out with tarot cards.
Yeah.
I've always been able to sense and feel spirit and communicate and everything else, but I kind of didn't actually go with it for years, and I mean until I was an adult. But in my later teenage years, I learned the tarot cards and things like that.
Yep.
And it wasn't until I started going to spiritualist churches on a Sunday regularly that I realized that actually no one had ever told me cards and divination, other things are all just tools.
Yes. Yes.
I didn't find that out until I actually started going to church. And I was like, what do you mean it's just a tool? Because every time I went to church, no one ever stood there with anything, obviously. It never used anything. They just used themselves.
Yes.
And it wasn't until then I realized that, oh, okay, then I probably don't even need these, what I'm using. I probably don't even need them. And I stopped using them. And I thought I'll give it a go without. And then I realized that actually, why was I even using the cards? Because I don't even think I was reading them anyway.
Yeah, and you're not. That's the funny thing is it's like, it is a tool. Sometimes maybe the person sitting with you likes more of a visual, sometimes people are visual learners versus, so it could help in a way, but also I think that if you're not fully in tune with it, or say like you shut it off or you didn't use it for a long time, when I started using oracle cards when I was 16, to me, it kind of helped me to build that dictionary that we use in our mind. So it's like, oh, when I see this, that means this. And when I see this, or, and then you connect things and it helps you to build this, because spirit has its own language. They don't just always talk to us and give us, very strategic things to say. They will show us symbols, they'll show us pictures, and it's up to us to determine using our intuition and what they're giving us to relay the message the way it needs to be relayed. So it's like this big game that you're playing, in a sense, it's like a guessing game. And after a while you learn how to interpret that and give that to somebody. So I think that the tools that people use help you to build that dictionary, I like to call it. Yeah.
Wow, I've never thought of it like that, like a
Right. But it
dictionary.
makes sense, right? For
It
somebody.
does. It makes total sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I've
Interesting.
never really thought of it like that.
Yeah.
See, you're teaching me tonight.
There you go. We didn't
That's
even know
really
what you.
interesting. That's it. I'm stealing that. I'm
Yeah.
putting out that I'm taking that.
Yeah, it's the truth though, because and like I said, everybody reads differently. Like for me, the way I pick, we could both be with the same person, right? And we're both reading the same person, and you might pick up on one thing, and I might pick up on something else. Both can make total sense, but the way we read is different. Not everybody hears things. Not everybody sees things. Not everybody's able to empathically feel. So I think each medium or person with a level of intuition is different. We not only pick up on it differently, but we also relay it differently. So everybody's got their own little niche. Not everybody does stage shows. Not everybody likes to do criminal investigations with missing persons and homicides. That's like a big no-no for some people, or it's scary. So I just think
I find that very, very interesting.
Yeah. I was actually just talking to somebody today who asked me to come out on a case that's happening here in Niagara Falls of unfortunately, a missing 15-year-old. To which we might go out later tonight and try to help out. But it's a scary, scary thing, like that's somebody's life that's in your hands. So it's not for everybody,
Yeah. Yeah. How did you get into doing that in the first place? Was it something you realized you could do, or did somebody reach out to you? Because it just really intrigues me, because I've never really spoken to any of it. I've heard, obviously you've discussed it with people, but never actually talked to someone that's actually been out and done it.
Right. One of the biggest reasons why I knew that I could do it is, as a kid and stuff, I would watch the news, or I would hear things, right? Like in newspapers, on the news, missing persons, homicides, whatever it might be. And I realized that as I was looking at these things or watching this story on the news, I'd start to see things, and I would start to piece together things in my mind. And then later the story would come out, and I'm like, that's exactly what I saw. Oh my God. So it was weird to try to put that together. And then when I really started putting myself out there publicly, it was really kind of a surprise to me, to be honest with you, because I didn't know how often mediums could be used in those situations. I mean, don't get me wrong, a lot of them are anonymous. Detectives and things like that, they don't always say outwardly, hey, we reached out to a medium.
Yeah.
They're very logical people, so it's, but the very first time I ever did it, I was reached out by a woman that knew me. She knew who I was. She had moved to a different state, and she got a hold of me from a different state, and she was like, I know you, I know how good you are. I need your help. And that was the first time that I ever helped to locate a young boy who had gone missing. And it took me like old school. I got a map of the place. I was circling things. She was sending whatever I was picking up on to police and to whoever was in the search party. And I followed his trail for a very long time. I think about a week time span, we followed him, and they were picking up on these areas that I would circle. They found clothing of his or evidence that he had been there. And then, by the end of it, unfortunately, I felt his energy go away. And they had later found him in the river, which is where I felt that he would be. And it was a very unfortunate case. But that was kind of like the first experience I had with it. And actually, the first reading I ever did publicly, now that I'm thinking about it, the first reading I ever did publicly was a woman whose son died, and they labeled it a suicide. This was, and I'm not kidding, like, this is the first time I'm like, you know what, I'm going to go out there publicly and I'm going to do this, and I'm just going to go for it and start doing readings. And it was this heavy reading that I did where this woman lost her son, and I was crying and she was crying, but come to find out he hadn't committed suicide. It was all an accident. And I helped to bring some closure to her. And that was like my first realization of, like, I questioned myself. Don't get me wrong. I was like, this is really difficult. Should I be doing this? Like, I don't know if I can handle this. This is a lot. I was very
young. We all do that.
Yeah, I was young. I mean, I was young. I was not 100% confident in myself. Not when it came to public stuff. I was too young for that. And so, that was my first experience. And so maybe that was a clue too, that would lead me to doing other criminal or investigation things.
Oh, I'm still getting over the little boy that you were telling us about.
Yeah. Yeah. It was it's a
That
sad
really,
situation.
I don't know, it's really choked me up.
Yeah. And it's hard,
It's
like
so
as a
sad.
parent too, as a parent, it hits differently. So those cases are always really, really difficult. Like the one that I was talking about tonight, it's, I unfortunately, I know the family of this little boy, and, it's a very unfortunate case. So we'll see what happens with that. But hopefully, if anything, I could lead them to help to find him. So we'll see.
Oh, wow.
Heavy, right? It's really
But
heavy.
in one hand, it's such an amazing, I'm sorry. On one hand, it's an amazing thing to be able to do it. But on the other hand, depending what the outcome is. But then I suppose in another respect, at least the family do get closure as well. So
yeah,
I guess they're not always wondering.
Right.
So I suppose I suppose it works both ways, really.
It does.
I don't think I think you need to be a very strong person to be able to do that. Personally, I don't think I could.
Yeah, I mean, if I would have looked back at myself, when I started readings at 16, do I think that I was mentally prepared for all of this? Not necessarily, but I think that if you are meant to be a healer in life, you are put through a series of extreme tests, whether it be physically, mentally, both. And, we survive those things because our job is to help other people through those things. And so, I've gone through my fair share of a ton of different situations in my life that really built me to be who I am. And did make me very strong to be able to help other people. And so as much as you want to look back at those hard situations and be like, poor me, in reality, it's helped you to become stronger. And, if you're strong enough to use it for other people, then it's very rewarding as well.
It's funny because I was literally about 3 weeks ago, I had a similar conversation with a friend of mine. Yeah. And we were discussing different things about like personal things about our lives and things that have happened and why we've survived certain things and so on. And it's funny because that's what she said to me. She said, well, obviously you kicked butt. She said, and you're still here because you're supposed to be here for a reason.
Yes.
And that's what she said to me, so going out and doing your readers and everything is what you're supposed to be doing. She said, what are you doing? She said, you're not doing it. And why aren't you doing it? I was like, okay, calm down.
I like her.
Yeah, she said, we're all supposed to be here for a purpose. It's like, so the reason like we haven't got Jo with us tonight is because Jo is actually out doing her first platform night on her own.
Oh, good for her. That's awesome. That's amazing. So, well, good luck to her. If she does see this, good luck. You're going to kill it.
That's exactly what I told her on the phone actually earlier. I said, so I'm chatting to Tessa tonight. She went, I know, she said, and I can't be there. And I went, I know. I said, but you're going to go out there and you're going to smash it. I said, you're going to have an amazing night. I said, and then all those people are going to want to come back.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. It's just,
she'll be fine.
Yeah, she'll do fine. She'll be fine. You just got to be confident. That's really what it's about, is walking out there with confidence and believing in what you pick up from spirit, with what my biggest thing is I tell people who are interested in doing readings and, they feel they have this gift and they want to, I call it an ability, but, if they have this ability and they want to use it, I always say you need to trust. The biggest thing is you can't do it unless you trust what you're seeing and feeling. It's not up to you how the other person receives it. No. What's up to you is, trusting yourself, delivering what you need to deliver, and then allowing them to digest that on their own and figure it out. It always means something. I'm very confident that what we pick up always means something. We might interpret it maybe differently than the person sitting with you, but that's up to them to figure out.
Yeah, and that's the thing, isn't it? That's not where I went wrong, but I think when I first started out, like you've just explained there, nobody explained that to me. And I'll say, oh, well, right. They'd say, it doesn't make sense to me. Yeah. And I got chatting to somebody once. I was like, it doesn't. And they're like, why does it need to make sense to you? You're just the messenger. Why does it need to make sense? Did the person that was sitting with you, did it make sense to them? I said, well, yeah. Well, there you go. You did your job.
Exactly.
You did what you were supposed to do. You passed on the information. It made sense to them. It doesn't matter if you think you're talking gibberish or it makes no sense to you, because
it's not about us.
Not your message.
It's nothing to do with us. We are just like you said, a messenger. It has nothing to do with us. It just comes through and it's for that person. That, you know, if we're speaking to somebody's loved one on the other side, you don't know them. You're just you know, but they know them. So when they're showing us something, I've gotten I mean, if I could tell you some of the craziest messages that I've gotten where I'm literally thinking to myself, you're going to make me say that? Like, you're going to really make me say that publicly right now, you know? But when you say it to them, they're breaking down crying because it makes complete sense to them. And then you're happy that you did it.
Yeah, I've done that. Like the first time I ever did one, I had a lady in the audience, and I know her from church, and I was reading for her, and how can I put this politely? Her father's got a foul mouth. I'll put it like that, shall I? That there's no P's and Q's or anything else with him. It's all very much, just all comes out then, shall we say. And I was stood there and I was trying to give her the information in front of all these other people. And I'm like, how do I word that without actually saying what he's just said? And it was so hard because every other word was foul language. And I was like, I don't know what to say tonight. And she went, it's fine. It's fine. I'm like, it might be fine to you, but I'm thinking the other people in the audience, they might not, you know, like that sort of thing.
But it's real. I think that's the coolest part about it. Like, it's real. It's genuine. You know, you can't help what comes through. We're not in charge of that. But, you know, I think that regardless of if people agree with swearing or, you know, any of that, it's like, it's so real. How could you deny that? You know, the more real you are, the more people can relate to that. So I always say, just go with it. I'm Italian though. Most people in my family, they use foul language constantly. So I'm used to it. And I'm just like, oh, you feel like family to me whenever that comes through.
So where are you this weekend? You said I know you're.
Where am I this weekend? This weekend I am at the Seneca Niagara Casino in Niagara Falls, New York. It's a resort and casino. When I was telling you before, I had a sold out show with almost 600 people. It's the same venue. It's an amazing venue. Oh, wow. But yeah, it's this weekend. It's Saturday, October 16th at the Seneca Niagara Casino. I'm very excited about it because I haven't been back there since COVID. So it should be very interesting. Yeah.
Because I know we've been talking on and off, and you've been busy, and you've been here, there, and everywhere, and you've only just got back home because you've been off on your travels. I'm not sure what I can and can't say, but then it has been on Facebook that you've been in Vegas, so everyone knows you've been there.
Yeah.
And you did an investigation Saturday because I feel like a stalker now. I'm stalking all your posts. I've seen everything, not really.
It's public. No, Vegas.
How was Saturday night?
It was Vegas was awesome. I haven't been there in years. My grandmother and I and my family, we always used to go. And so this was my first time back in Vegas for a couple years. And Nick and I went, and every day with us is fun. And so anything we do together, I really love. So we had fun for that. And then we went to Goldfield Hotel.
That was it. I couldn't think. I knew it was a hotel, and I was trying to think, what was it called? See, I'm not that good a stalker because I couldn't remember the name of the hotel.
Well, you want to hear something funny? So it's like I was part of his tour, right? So Nick and I did this together. And he did Goldfield Hotel was really what launched, you know, the documentary, apparently. And I was laughing because, you know, obviously people were asking about it and stuff. And I'm like, I got to be honest, like, I'm getting married to the guy, but I never even saw the documentary or half of the shows that he ever did. So he'll say to me, like, do you remember this location from this episode? And I'm like, no. I love you, but no.
I love you, but at least you're honest. But I'm sure he'd much rather you be honest and just be truthful with him and tell him.
That's true. Yeah, we're very honest. But what was cool about this past weekend was the fact that I didn't see any of those episodes, that I have never been there before. And as a medium, I'm sure you can relate to this.
I was going to say, that's a good thing for you.
It is, because I want to go in there with a clear head. I don't want anything already in my head about the place. So, you know, I definitely went there with an open mind. It was definitely haunted. I will say that it was definitely haunted. I didn't feel any negative presence, really. I really differentiate between negativity, demonic, things that are like that, versus people who are just really crappy people here when they were alive and that they did horrible things.
Mhm.
It can feel similar. Like it's the same as if you walk up to somebody in person where you're like, oh, I don't like his energy. I don't like that energy.
Yeah.
Something's wrong over here. You know what I mean? And so spirit can come through. It could be residual energy that comes through that's angry, or you can pick up on the things that may have happened there. And there's definitely a lot of that there, you know? But it was an awesome weekend. We wish we could have stayed a little bit longer, but we can't because we had to keep on going. But it was a great weekend. Very awesome Nick Groff tour. We have another one coming up at Waverly Hills in November, so next month. So
yeah, I saw that. Listen to me, here we go. Stalker goes again. Yeah, I saw that.
it's going to be fun. I haven't been to Waverly Hills in probably, I think like 6 years now was the last time I've been there. So I'm excited to go back.
Well, like we were talking earlier before we came on air, and I was saying about the energy between the two of you. So actually going out and doing what you're passionate about together.
Yeah. It's really interesting. It's cool because how do I explain this? Like, obviously, like I said before, everybody's different. Nick is very intuitive. He's very intuitive, and he's very passionate about what he does. So the combination of the two of us, him being good at what he does, me being good at what I do, coming together, it's like, it's very interesting what we pick up on. And we really enjoy it together too. We're both very passionate in what we do. So coming together like that is just, I think, a really cool experience.
Yeah, well, like I said, you work so well together in general. So working and doing an investigation. So were you, I'm trying to think now what I can and can't ask you. I don't want to get you into any trouble or anything.
I don't think you can get in any trouble. I think everything's out there.
That's okay then, because it's been a while since Joe spoke to you, and it's been a while since Joe and I spoke to Nick.
Yes.
And I think when we spoke to Nick, it was, what was coming out? Brain's gone blank now. See, I told you I'm not a very good stalker, am I? I can't remember things.
Come on,
The Dead Walker.
A little harder than that.
It was when his own show was coming out.
Death Walker.
Yeah, when Death Walker was coming out.
Yeah.
And that was the last time. That's when we spoke to him. It was before that was actually released.
Yes. I got to tell you, and this may sound biased because I'm marrying the guy, but his season 2 that he's working on currently, which, to clarify for everybody, it's not finished yet because everybody's been wondering when is it going to air and when is it going to be in the US and all these things, but he's been working on it. Once that's finished, they could air it. But number one, he's like the hardest worker I've ever seen when it comes to what he does. He really does everything. But his season 2 is unbelievable. It really takes paranormal to the next level. I was in a couple episodes, and so he asked me to join.
Only a couple?
A couple, yeah. I can't be in all of them. But very interesting ones, I have to say. There is one episode that was very close to home for me, which is, and you know, eventually I'll be able to talk about that, but there was a location that is very connected to me in my life, and it just was weird how it came out. And how we got to doing that. And so obviously I had to be involved in that one. And then we did another very iconic location that I had never been to, but very, very haunted. And I can't wait for everybody to see them on top of the rest of them. You know, I'm very excited. It's going to be awesome.
So my next question is, when are you getting your own show?
And why
are you laughing?
Let's just put it this way. We're working on it. How's that sound?
Okay.
Yeah. We're working on it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. I'm very confident in that too. You know, I always say what's meant to be is gonna be, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with that. Like we said about that earlier when we were talking about different things before we came on, and we both agreed on many things that so what's meant to be, it will be.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
It's meant to happen, it'll happen. But yeah, that was like one of my biggest questions was, when did you go out? Because it's about time you did, really, isn't it? Come on.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, the thing about me though, and I'll be honest, is one of the reasons it's not technically out there right now, or you don't see me on TV, is because I'm very picky. I'm very picky with my image and how I'm portrayed in any situation, basically because I've really worked hard to maintain who I am as a medium and not necessarily fall into different categories just for the sake of being on TV. And so I've turned down things, I've really said like, nope, this is what I need. This is what I want. And I'm a very patient person. So that's why I'm not on TV right now. But
and it all happens when it's supposed to.
It's all supposed to, but I'm not going to settle. You know what I'm saying? Like I want to be me. If I could be me, great. No,
I completely, hats off to you for that, because you're credible. You're a credible woman with everything that you do.
Thank you.
So I can't blame you for wanting to be like that. And I think it's a fantastic thing that you are like that.
Yeah.
No disrespect to anyone else, obviously, out in the field, they go out and do all of that. But
everybody's different, like I said.
Exactly.
What works for one person might not work for somebody else, and that's totally fine. Everybody's got their own path.
And you don't want to be pigeonholed either. So I get that. I understand where you're coming from. And obviously with working with Nick and everything, at least 100% you can be authentic, be who you are, and like you said, just be you.
Yep.
Because obviously, well, not obviously, but I know with some productions and so on, there certain ways they'd like you to portray yourself, in certain ways that you'd like you to be, and so on. Like from knowing people that have been on shows or in production and so on. So I kind of know a little bit. I don't, obviously it's not something I've ever done, but I do know a little bit.
There's a lot to it. Yeah, there's a lot to it that people don't necessarily understand. And like I said, everybody's got their own path, and I think that everybody's entitled to that, So my path is on its way, and we'll see what happens with it.
Oh, this is like really excited. I just realized, I'm so sorry, everyone. Like, I'm not even reading your comments. I am so rude tonight. It's, I'm just like, it's just, I just love talking to you.
I know. I love it. This is great.
Okay, let me read some things out because I don't want to get into trouble. So if you're still here, Champagne says, I have a question. I am an intuitive psychic reader. I use tarot cards to receive messages, but why can't I connect through mediumship? Is there something that is common?
That's a good question. I always say that there's different levels of intuition. So I layer them, right? So I always say there's a psychic, there's a medium, there's an empath. And so one of two things could be going on. Her name is Champagne, right? That's an awesome name. So one of two things could be going on. Number one, you might not be pulling yourself or pulling, because I think that as a medium, as an intuitive, I should say, I think we use more of our brain. I think that it's part of the brain. I think there's parts of us that we use on an intuitive level. And I think that development can help people to really become in tune with those things. Do I think everybody's a medium? No. I think that these different levels of being a medium, being an empath, I think that, for some reason, certain people are assigned to that, and that's just their ability. But if you're working with tarot cards and you're not receiving mediumship messages, it's one of two things. Either you don't necessarily have that connection to spirit, or you're just not working in that direction. Sometimes even though tarot cards are great and could definitely give readings in one direction, it could also hinder you because you're so focused on the cards and the meaning of the card and the picture.
I become very reliant.
Right.
Because I thought I couldn't work without them. And that's,
Right. Yes. Yeah. And I think that it shuts you down in a sense. Like if you get too used. Now, mind you, there's people who will only get tarot card readings. That's great. But if you're looking to expand yourself, sometimes I think it could really block you off to what else is out there and what else you might be picking up on, because you're tunnel visioned on the cards. So I would suggest to her, if that's what if you feel you have a level of mediumship, put the cards aside and really start tuning into that.
Okay. I hope that makes sense to you. We just got some lovely comments already.
Oh, Laura.
Thanks for sharing your gift.
Oh, she's so sweet.
Paul Ashton says, I'm glad you're sharing your gift. Jody, Tessa, you are so amazing.
Oh, hi, Jody. Jody and Diana are awesome. They're so supportive. Love Jody and Diana. So hi, guys.
And Christy agrees, says you are. Another question. Oh, I'm interested to know the answer to this one because I don't really know much about numbers.
Yeah.
What does seeing and waking up at 444?
So I think numbers can be meaningful to each person, and it doesn't necessarily, like 444 could mean something to one person but something totally different to another person, you know. So let's say that somebody lost a loved one and unfortunately they passed at 4:44 in the morning. There's been times where people will wake up to that time, and it could be just them visiting them, and it could be a sign from the other side. And then, you know, a lot of people believe in numerology or angel numbers. And so I always say, you know, 444, look up the number 4 or that 3 4s and look it up and see what the meaning behind that is. It could be something going on in your life right now. It could be spirit trying to guide you in a certain direction. A lot of angel numbers and things like that can be used for guidance. You know, so like for me, I don't get repeating numbers, but it's weird because for me, I get a number 412. And so if I pick up my phone or if I look at a clock, or I could be someplace randomly, it could be an address, 412 will come up, but that was my address as a child growing up in the house that I was talking about where my uncle had died. It was my grandmother's house. So I always reference 412 to my grandmother being around and sending those, you know, signs. So I think it could be either or, but I would suggest, Kelly, if you are seeing that, maybe think about people who have passed. And if that's not it, look into what 444 means. You can literally Google symbolic meanings and things like that too.
I have, yeah. I've Googled it in the past to that exact number to have a look. And it's funny, Kelly, because I put fuel in my car last week. Okay, I put 40 pounds in or something, and it come up miles I had after I fueled up 444. This week, I put in a different amount of fuel in, and it came up again 444 on the mileage that I had after I fueled up, and I was like, did I put the same amount? Well, no, that can't be right, because I thought, well, I had like 2 bars of fuel when I fueled up last week, 3 bars of fuel when I fueled up this week, but it still came to 444 both weeks. And I put different amounts in.
Did you look it up? Like, did you?
I haven't, so I will, because I forgot about it until just then. So I will have a look.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird because, you know, spirit will use these things. It's a commonality. So 444 means something. I'm not off the top of my head. I don't necessarily remember what that is, but it means something. And it could also just be spirit guiding you, like, hey, you got to pay attention to this, you know, or this is coming for you, so be patient. So just look it up and see how it relates to the things going on in your life.
I'm going to have a look. Well, I'm going to have a look afterwards. I'm going to Google it because it's happened before. Back last year, it kept happening. The 444 kept coming up, but in different ways then.
Okay.
So
yeah, really interesting.
I'm going to have a look and see what it means this time around. I'm just going to quickly go through the comments because
you have to
keep forgetting about people. That is Lee. He says hi to us both.
Hi, Lee.
Christy. Tessa is so kind.
You guys are so nice.
Hi, Tessa.
Hi, Nancy.
From the Spooky Sisters here in the UK.
Love Spooky Sisters. I love that name. It's so cool. Oh my God. The Clown Motel.
So yeah, tell me, how did you like the Clown Hotel?
Did you see the live? Did you see what Nick did to me?
No.
Oh my God.
Because of the time difference, I was probably asleep.
Probably. Oh, that's right. That's right. Yeah. So if anybody has seen, you know, episodes and things like that in Nevada, there is something called the Clown Motel.
No, thank you.
I'm still trying to figure out why it's even there, like what the point of it is. But the story is we got up and we were going to get ready for the Nick Groff tour event, and we had a meet and greet, and then later that night we were going to the Goldfield. And so he's like, we need to go to the Mizpah. We'll take pictures out there. I want to show you around because I've never been to that area. So what I thought was happening was we were going to go look at these cool places. And he pulls up at the Clown Motel. I'm terrified of clowns. So he pulls up and he's like, we got to go in here. Come on. I got to. And I'm like, no. I sat in the car. I was like, you can go. I wouldn't get out of the car for a minute. Like, I was like, no. And then he went live on Facebook. So you're going to laugh when you see it. He went live on Facebook and he got me to get out of the car.
Nick, I thought better of him. So disappointed now.
Funny. I was so mad. I was so mad. I was like, please. And my family was like, I have no idea how you got her out of the car or anywhere near that place because I'm terrified of clowns. So it was not fun. I tried to convince him to stay outside with me, and I was just going to be near the graveyard. I was fine with the graveyard. It was really cool. And he insisted on going inside. And so you can go on my page or his page. He posted it. He thinks he's hilarious. So I hated it. So Kelly, I hated
Nick Groff, I am disappointed in you. Not that he'd care anyway, but that's besides the point. I'm disappointed. Paul, I'm not happy about that. I think
if it wasn't with him,
don't like clowns.
Let me make this clear. If I wasn't with him, there would have been no way that I would have ever done that. You know, I know he wouldn't let anything happen to me, and if a clown came alive and chased me, I'm sure he would.
Oh, don't, because that's my fear. Don't they scare?
It's terrible.
No, that scares me.
No, hearing because people are like, well, I don't know how you could be scared of clowns. Did nobody hear about the news thing? Like here in the U.S., I know there was this pandemic of these clowns coming out of nowhere and like terrorizing.
Yeah, I remember that.
I wouldn't come to my house. I wouldn't. I'm like, I could do ghosts. I could do scary things, great. But when it comes to clowns, it's a big no for me. And spiders. But the clowns were terrifying. Terrifying.
Clowns, spiders, dolls. Not particularly in that order, but they're my three. Clowns, spiders, and dolls. Where
did Nick and I go that had the dolls, the doll room? That was another place I was not
doll room. No.
It was Greystone Manor, I think it was. I think it was in Greystone Manor. And there was this doll room, and that's another place. I was like, you have fun in there, and I'm going to stay on the outside over here.
Oh, no.
But if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have done it. I felt safe with him, so.
That's different.
Still hated it. I still hated it. I'm not going to lie, but
funny.
God. After watching it back, it was pretty funny. So you should watch it and let me know what you think.
I will. I'll watch you later. Oh my God. No, I don't think I could have done it. Just the thought of it freaks me out.
I had like chills all over me, and I'm like walking away. I'm like, we're never doing this again. You got it? We're never doing this again.
Weird. It's just like, they're just not, I don't know. I'm really sure they're just weird. They're just not normal. I just don't like it. No. Dolls just freak me. I don't know what it is about. I think it's because when I was young, my aunt had like loads. She collected two of my aunts, one on my dad's side, one on my mum's side. They both collected porcelain dolls. And I don't know, because they're always got their eyes open. They're just constantly staring at you. It freaks me out. I just don't like them. They're just like, I don't know. It's just something about them I don't like. I've got one. My aunt is like definitely a technophobe, so I can say this.
Yeah.
She gave me a porcelain doll, and it's like half my size. It's huge. It's ridiculous.
Oh my God.
I'm very ungrateful because it's actually in the attic at my mum's.
Oh.
I blatantly lied to her and told her that when I moved out of home, my mum told her I didn't take it. And I was like, why did you tell her I didn't take it? She said she's really upset that you didn't take it because she hasn't got any daughters. She only got a son, which is why she gave it to me, because she wants to keep it in the family and she wants to hand it down. I'm like, why did you tell her? She's like, well, I couldn't lie to her and tell her you took it when you didn't. I went, but I don't like it. So my mum's got it in the attic. So now I have lied to the woman, and I hold my hands up. I've lied, and I said, oh yeah, when I moved house, I've taken it now because we've got more room in the new house, so I've took it. So yeah, I've got it. So I've blatantly lied to her and told her it's in my house. That thing is never coming in this house.
No,
ever.
I would have done the same thing. So I don't think you're at fault at all. I'm 100% on your side.
No. I don't know. I know it probably sounds stupid to people, but honestly, I don't care. I swear they're just staring at you all the time. Their eyes follow you around the room.
Yeah, my when I lived at home with my parents, it wasn't. We moved from the house I was telling you about, and then my parents got a different house a little later. I was probably like 10, and I remember going into the basement, and I walked down, and I look up, and there's these two dolls. Like, I'm not even talking cute dolls, right? There's cute dolls. This was like, I don't know. It looked like something out of a horror movie. And I'm looking at them and I'm like, no. I went right upstairs and I'm like, Mom, what are you doing? What are those? Like, why are they down in the basement? She's like, oh, those were my dolls when I was a kid. I'm like, you played with those things? Like, those, you played with those? She wouldn't move them. She kept them there. Like, And they were so creepy that I would avoid that part of the basement just because I couldn't handle it. I was like, I don't know. I mean, I love you, Ma, but I don't know.
No.
How could you?
No.
How could you play with that?
Why? I say no. Why?
Yeah. Yeah. So dolls, clowns, I get it. Spiders. Luckily with Nick, I could just yell to him.
See,
to
I love
spiders.
you more and more. The more we talk, see?
Yeah, I know. We're very much alike.
Crazy as each other, but in the good kind of crazy.
It's a good crazy. Yep. I like crazy people.
Only the good kind, though. Only the good kind.
Yes, the good kind of crazy.
Oh, Kelly says she loves Nick and Tessa. You're a beautiful couple. I see another one that agrees with me that you're a beautiful couple.
Yeah, we're very happy. We're very, very happy and very grateful. Oh, will you be
now?
Canada?
So when are you going to Canada? That's what Nancy would like to know. Can you
Yes.
tell us?
The cool prior to COVID, when my casino show was really kind of taking off, I don't know what part of Canada you're from, Nancy, but I was looking into the Fallsview Casino, which is on the Niagara Falls side of Canada. So there's the New York side and then the Canadian side. And there's a place called the Fallsview Casino, and I had planned on going there. And then obviously COVID shut that down. So I am looking into that again. I'm looking into Fallsview. So I don't know how close you are to Niagara Falls. And then Toronto's been in talks too. So nothing solidified just yet with that. But we're talking about it. So we'll see.
Okay, so keep a lookout for that, Nancy. Rosie says, Tessa, you're amazing, true inspiration to psychic mediums and everyone, and fantastic in what you do.
Oh my God, people are so sweet. Thank you so much, Rosie. That was really nice. Thank you.
Chris says, I'm an empath. I'm pretty sure I'm sensitive. How do I really know?
I would just say you already know. you know because you know, and I know that sounds.
She's just answered her own question,
right? I mean, and that's the thing we were talking about in the beginning: is be confident in what you're feeling and seeing. There are different levels. So you're saying an empath, right? So for people who are unfamiliar with an empath means that you can feel emotions. You take on people's energy literally. So you could take on the energy of a room. You could take on the energy of a person. You might feel pains within the body. Empaths are usually healers. So you'll see a lot of empaths become Reiki healers. They'll work with energy that way. I use my ability as an empath when it comes to readings to identify maybe how a person's passed. I use it in criminal cases, missing persons cases. I allow my body to feel emotions or feel pains or feel what might have happened. And so for somebody who hasn't developed that and maybe you're questioning it, I would say, if you feel like a sponge every time you go out into public and you pick up on things and you feel anxious and you feel maybe angry or sad out of nowhere, and it's really difficult to get rid of that, that's a sign that you're an empath. And I always encourage people that if you believe that you're sensitive, if you believe that you're an empath, you're having those experiences, find a way to get rid of that energy too. It's very important for physical and mental health with people, is to be able to get rid of that. For me, it was always physical activity. So I was a dancer. I did aerial hoop. I was a gymnast. And so whenever I would go to the studio and dance, or I would do a performance, or maybe I would go to the gym and do Lyra, I would feel better because it was my outlet. And so I always encourage people to find some way to channel that and get rid of it. Or you're just going to walk around like this soaked up sponge and feel all the time, and it's not good.
That is one thing that when you're an empath to remember is when you are picking up on all these feelings, just remember they're not your feelings. They're not your emotions and so on, because it's like they say, a person can walk into a room and they give you, they will dump everything on you, and then they go away feeling great and you're left with it. So make sure you do learn, like Tessa explained, learn how to channel to get rid of it all, because you don't want to hold on to it. They didn't need it. They've passed it on to you. You just need to get rid of it because you don't need it either.
Yeah. And I was explaining to people too, for what we did this past weekend when we went into Goldfield, there was a lot of people there, because I always say people who are interested in the paranormal in general, I believe that they have a level of intuition or they've had an experience to which they, are now intrigued. But there was a lot of very sensitive people in the group that came with us. And so beforehand, I talked with them about, blocking those things out and making that an everyday practice. I use this funny reference because it's really like the first thing that I thought of when I was a kid, but I used to watch The Wizard of Oz all the time. I loved anything to do with musicals and things like that. So The Wizard of Oz was big for me. And I remember Glinda, and she would come in that big bubble. And so when I was younger, I started imagining in my mind, like at night, because that spirit would come to me all the time, and I couldn't sleep. I was, all these things. So I put myself in this bubble, and I started pretending I was Glinda in this bubble, and nobody could come into that bubble with me, and I was protected. And all of a sudden it started working, and I was like, oh, okay. So I would use that every single day. And I use it to this day. If I walk into a location, if I'm doing a reading, if I'm out in public somewhere, I'm always blocking myself. This way, it's not, I'm not constantly picking up on everything. I can decide when and where and how much I want to pick up on, because you're in control of your energy and your body. And I think that's very important for people to understand, is that you are in control. It's just a matter of taking control.
See, that's another thing that people don't realize when they're starting out, is the fact that, like you said, you're in control of everything. Spirit aren't in control. The same as you choose when you work and when you don't.
Right.
And people think because they're open and because they can communicate with spirit, it is okay to say no. And I don't think people realize, they think, oh, just because they're getting something, they need to put it out there all the time. But you're not constantly having to work all the time. You choose.
Right.
It's like one of my friends, Gary, he always says, like, when his office is open and when his office is closed. That's the way he uses terminology for that. And I think when you're learning and when you're new to this yet again is something that you're, until you go to a development circle or you go to church or something else, or you meet someone like yourself that could help somebody else develop and so on and teach them these things, you're just walking around, people are walking around constantly with stuff going on because they don't know how to open and close, and they don't realize that, it's actually okay. You can shut off sometimes. You don't have to be open all the time. Because I used to be one of those people that used to be open literally all the time.
Yeah. And that's something that I think everybody should really learn. For me, I don't ever turn it off. So I've gotten to the point in my life where I don't necessarily turn it off. I'm always aware, and I always can sense things, but I will not, like, it was so strange. So this past weekend we were in Vegas, Nick and I, and we talk all the time. Like, our conversations go on for hours about all different things. But it was interesting because he says to me, like, we were sitting on the strip in Las Vegas. We were just having something to eat before we went to Goldfield. And he's like, what was his question? He was like, so he goes, how do you see, like, if we're sitting here right now, the strip in Las Vegas, there's people everywhere, right? And he's like, how do you determine what's real and what's not? Like, in the way that I see spirit, because I see it so vividly. He's like, how, like, it was a very cool question that he asked me. And then I had to think about it, because I'm like, I don't know if I've ever talked to him about this before. But what I said to him was, for me, the way that I see it, I can determine most of the time what is spirit and what is a human, right? Or a person in a physical body. And to me, they look different, but I know that they're there. And he's like, well, do they know that you can see them? And I'm like, well, yeah. To me, it's like, I view it like this. I view it like, as a medium, because I'm so in tune. Spirit sees me like a lighthouse. It's like, she could see me, which is why a lot of people experience them coming to them at night. And it's like traffic in and out of the house or in their dreams. It's like, they know that you can feel and see them. So they might have a message. They might want to talk. They want to be known. So I was explaining to him, I'm like, we were at this restaurant and there was a girl sitting to the left of us. And I said, like, for example, her father's standing with her, and I'm like, but I would never read into that or approach that person unless it was okayed by them, because to me, that's privacy. That's their, but I know that he's there. The minute that I look over, I can see that he's there. I know that he's there with her. And so I don't ever shut it off. I just maintain boundaries with people because it's privacy. It's their lives. It's their own thing.
See, that's another thing as well that's really important. Like you said, it's boundaries. Because I've known people in my past that they wouldn't think twice about going up to someone and then just start telling them. But I couldn't do that because I wouldn't like that if someone came and did that to me.
Right.
I'd feel like they were invading my privacy. And
Yeah.
I don't think, as much as I could do it myself, I don't think I know how I'd handle that if someone just came up to me and started telling me something.
Yeah.
I don't think I'd like it, to be honest, because like
Right.
I said, it is, if you're looking for it, or I don't know, say you're on an investigation or you've gone to a location and is kind of, or to a fair or a festival or a convention or whatever, that's different. You're kind of putting yourself into that type of situation because you know that could happen in that situation because you're putting yourself in it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't like to be sat on the bus or something. Not that I sit on a bus, but, you know, sit on a bus and then someone just randomly go, by the way, your dad sat with you, blah, blah, blah. Because it's just not, you just don't do it.
Well, and the reality of it too is like not everybody's open to it.
And how are they going to perceive? Exactly.
They're not. You know, there's TV shows where people are approached in public, but what people don't realize is that one of two things: either that was set up in a sense that the person's aware that they might get approached or they're okayed with it, or they're asked. Like, you know, for me, don't get me wrong, I've done it in public, but it was more so like I'd be at a restaurant and, you know, waiters or waitresses are very talkative and things, and I'll slide it in there like, so I'm a medium and this is what I do. And then you see if they're interested in it. And then you ask them, like, are you okay with a message? And if they say yes, great. If they say no, back off. It's not your place, you know, but I've done it before in public to where people were.
I have, admittedly, I have done that with a waitress and stuff before. When we've been to a pub, we've been out for lunch or something, and we've just started chatting and I've kind of dropped it into conversation.
Right.
For the same reasons.
But they have to be okay with it. You know, there's people out there who are very afraid of this because they don't understand it, or maybe it's a religious belief, or maybe who knows what their reasoning is, and they're entitled to that. So, you know, I take what I do very seriously, but I also have very strict boundaries with it as well. And it's very important for people who are going out to do those things. Don't just walk up to somebody in Walmart and start reading them. It could
well, this is what I mean. You see, if it's in, like you said, in a restaurant or in a pub and I'm in an eatery or something like that, and it's the waitress or the waiter or the bar person or whatever, then I might drop into conversation, see how they kind of feel about it and what their reaction is, whether they're interested, whether they're intrigued, or whether they think I'm just crazy and just don't want to talk to me anymore. You know, because you do get different reactions from different people.
You do. Yeah, you do.
But I would never, like you said, I'd never dream of walking up to somebody in a shop or in a supermarket, or, like I said, sit on a bus and just start. I used to, at one point, I used to travel on the bus to work because it was just cheaper than using the car, basically. And there was this lady that used to always be the same day of the week. One day a week, she'd go and do her shopping, and she'd always use the bus. And her husband used to go with her every week. And I'd see her get on the bus, and he'd follow on behind, and he'd sit next to her. And I used to sit there and think, how lovely is that he still goes with her to go and do the weekly shop.
Yeah.
Like once a week, he still goes with her and sits with her. And I used to literally warm my heart. It used to be such a lovely thing to see.
Yeah. That gave me goosebumps because I know that feeling. And it's like, I think people.
Like, you can't tell them, but, you know, it's such a lovely feeling. Just know, you know.
And that's the thing.
I found it comforting.
That's the thing about being a medium. I always say my goal is to validate for people that their loved ones are with them, that they're okay, they're at peace, they're with you, that they do communicate with you, that they are there. Like, that's, to me, that's what being a medium is all about, really, you know, is confirming that there is something that happens to us after we die, that they are able to tell us that they're okay, that they watch over us, that they love us from the other side. And I think that type of comfort is life-changing for people. And so like what you saw on the bus, that's very true. And it happens. And, you know, how cool would it be for that woman to know that, you know, he's there with her? You know, it's a comforting thing.
It was just lovely just to see that. It's like my dad, he didn't really believe in mediumship. He didn't believe in psychics, didn't believe in anything like that. And I actually went to a gallery reading, and we got a message as a family. So when we went home, we told him the message because we didn't know it was from his mother. And unfortunately, I was quite young when she passed, so I couldn't validate anything. There was a couple of little bits, but a lot of it I didn't know because I was far too young. So when I went home and I was explaining it to him, he was like, but how? I'm like, because that's what they told me. Because I'm telling you what they've told me. This is what she said. And then I told him, and then he validated those things, and I think it did change his mind. And now he just doesn't shut up. He comes through. Used to come through. Well, the first 4 years when he used to come through. Every time you'd go and you'd think, oh, it'd be really nice to hear from so-and-so or whatever. No, there he is, full front, straight away, every time without fail.
Yeah.
He's like, Dad, give it a break. I want to talk to someone else.
Yeah. I know. It's amazing, isn't it?
You didn't even believe in it before, but now you can't stop.
Right. It just takes the experience, and that's why I was saying with what I do in large shows, you might not necessarily get a reading, but how could you deny that what other people are experiencing is real,
See, for years I've always said that I never really go for reading myself. I just like to go and sit in the atmosphere and sit in the energy, right, basically.
Yeah.
If I get something, it's a bonus because it's not really what I'm going for. It's just to sit in the energy and have the experience along with all the rest of the people, especially when you do it yourself. I think they always ask you, can you read for yourself? Is that a question you get a lot? Because that's something I always get a lot is, can you not just call them up and whoever you want to talk to, get them to pop in and have a chat? It's like, no, it doesn't work like that.
It doesn't work. I mean, I wish it did, right? I mean, that would be awesome. The cool thing though is that, I think with what we do, no, they don't just come to us and talk, our loved ones. But I think that it also makes us more aware of when they do send us those signs and you can sense that they're around. My grandmother she's very important to me. She was like a mother to me. She was one of the biggest people in my life. And so when she passed, I was so angry because I was like, why isn't she coming to me the way that, why can't I talk to her the way that I talk to everybody else? But then I realized her way of communicating with me was through my dreams. So I will ask for her, and then in a dream, she'll come and, it's not all the time, but that's her way of communicating with me is through my dreams. And so with other people, I always say, pay attention to your dreams, pay attention to the signs that they send.
Most definitely.
My grandmother will leave pennies. Actually, what's crazy is she'll leave. So my grandmother was a gambler. She loved Vegas. Okay. So Nick and I go to Vegas.
Oh, she was with you this week then?
She was with us this week, and it was so weird that it was the week that she had passed. Okay. So this past week was the week of the anniversary of her passing, and we go to Vegas. And on top of it, we were in a hotel room, and Nick picked up this coin and was like, because he knows that that's my sign from her too, and that she would always take a penny in Vegas and rub the slots. It was like her little thing that she would do to win. And she was a very lucky person. I got to give her that. And so he picks it up and he's like, this was literally right by your side of the bed. And it was tail side up the way she always leaves it. And it was directly next to my bed. And I think it was around that 412 time that I was talking to you about. And he's just like, I can't get used to this. I don't know how this happens. This is so crazy, but we just receive it differently. We can't necessarily read ourselves, but they will come to us still, just like they do everybody else, and give us signs and validation and things like that.
See, me with my dad, that's dreams with him. Because I went through a point, I was like, he comes to everybody and gives reasons to everyone apart from me. Why doesn't he come to me? This is just so not fair. And I sat back and thought about it. And I thought, well, actually, I probably see him and talk to him more than anybody else because he does actually come in my dreams. And I was like, actually, you know what? I'm complaining. I had a reading a few weeks ago because I hadn't had one for quite a long time.
Yeah.
It's just sometimes it's just good to have one sometimes, isn't it? It was a friend of mine. She said, come over. I'll do you a reading. I really want to do you one. I was like, okay. So I went to go and visit her. And I had a 2-hour reading. Oh, wow. She read my ribbons, cards, you name it. She pretty much read everything. And she said, oh, by the way, your dad is here. He literally chipped in and said 2 words in 2 hours. That was it. Oh my God. I was like, so he's here. She said, yeah. I said, but he doesn't want to talk to me. She went, oh, yeah, I'm sure he will at some point. But yeah, 2 words in 2 hours. I was like, wow, he really pushed the boat out. But great conversation. Thanks for coming.
Thanks, Dad. But the cool thing is I always say Spirit gives us what we need,
yeah,
not what we want. And so I think sometimes people will enter a reading thinking, well, I really want this, but come to find out what they were told or what came through for them was really what they needed. You know, there was this really lovely woman that showed up to the event this past weekend. And at the end of the event, it was late, but she pulled me aside and she had asked if there was anybody with her. And I don't normally like do that, but I did because what I felt was that she really needed to hear this, and she was so sweet. And so I started reading her, and it was interesting because the person who came through for her, she looked at me and she's like, I would have never expected that person to come through. But the weird thing is that she gave her a message that she just never thought she would ever get. It was something she had let go of and was like, I'm just going to have to live my life basically accepting that I'll never have that message from that person.
Yeah.
But when it came, it was the first thing that came through. And she's like, I would have never expected that. I'm like, but you needed it. And she's like, I absolutely needed that. Like I was just going about life, letting it go and just whatever. And then the other person who she wanted to hear from came through and gave her even more of a message that she needed in that point in time. And so that's just an example of how it works. You know, she didn't expect that. She wanted to hear from person B, but person A was who needed to say something first. And so it's just, I always say Spirit knows what you need, and that's why they come through.
See, I always say to people, you'll get what you're given.
Yeah.
You come in. I always say to everyone, before I sit with somebody, I will always say to them, look, right at the beginning, from the off, I say, you'll get what you're given. Yeah. You'll get what they want to give you. It's not, I said, no disrespect, but it's not about what you want and what you want to hear.
Right.
It's what you need to know and what you need to hear.
Yes.
And that's whenever I do a reading for anyone, that's how I always start it and always say that. And they, well, why do you say that? I'm like, because what you've got to remember is that you're the sitter. I'm reading for you, right? But I don't work for you. I work for them.
Yes.
And that's the way I've always put it across to people whenever I do readings. So, what do you mean you work for them? I said, well, the message is from them for you.
Yep.
You're sitting here. I said, but I'm working for them because I'm passing on their messages.
Yes. Yep.
I said, so that's the way I've always explained it to people.
That's true.
Well, I've never really thought of it like that. But that's just the way I've always thought of it.
Yes, it's 100% true. You explained it perfectly.
Oh, thank you.
You do. It's true. I mean, we're here to deliver the message, and like I said earlier, it's up to them to take that in whatever way that they can, or whatever way that they need it in that moment. But I always tell people, I open up a show, I open up a reading, and I said, Spirit will always give you what you need, not what you want. So keep that in mind, and just be open to what that is, you know. And it's about people's intentions too. Who comes through and the way that they speak to them every day, and keeping that connection strong with those people on the other side. You know, it all plays a factor in what comes in.
Another thing is, people always say as well that, oh, so-and-so passed and might be a gran or... Sorry, I don't mean to laugh. Sorry, that was being really disrespectful, but I was reading Daniel Class's comments.
Oh, is Dan on here? What did he say? Dan's always got something to say. What did he say?
God, Tessa is so beautiful. Is she single?
Is he not? He's probably with Nick right now. How much you want to bet?
Yeah, but now you know why I was laughing. I'm trying to have a serious conversation, Daniel Class. We were having such a serious conversation, and then I just saw in the corner of my eye. I saw.
How much you want to bet? How much you want to bet he's sitting with Nick right now? How much you want to bet that that's what's going on?
Oh dear,
he's so funny.
Having a serious conversation.
I'm surprised he's not talking about pickles or pizza with me. Normally, that's like what the topic is pickles or pizza.
Oh, he just laughed. He hasn't told us either whether he is or whether he isn't. He just laughed at us. So thanks, Dan.
That's typical. That's why
we love you too.
That's why we love him.
Bless him. He just made me laugh.
He's awesome. He's such a good guy.
It was like, so I was just like being quite serious then, and then literally just like in the corner of my eye.
You know, Dan was one of the people, I'm talking like a long time, years and years ago, who was there for like some of my first ever gallery readings. He like set those up and was there for all of that stuff. So I've known Dan a very, very long time. He's right with him, I told you. I knew he was. But he's been a part of my journey for a very long time. He's seen all of that stuff.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, because when I think the last time I interviewed Dan was for like one of the festivals.
Yeah.
And I said, "Oh, so what are you doing after?" And they were going for a drink. They were going for a beer.
Of course.
After that, actually. So it's funny. I'm now talking to you, and he sat with him again.
Yeah, of course. That's Dan.
Bless him. I had to read that out there. He's funny.
That was awesome.
It's like you've literally thrown me off completely now, Dan, because I was having a nice serious conversation.
But that's Dan's favorite thing to do is throw people off or throw in just little tidbits of things. So I'm used to it. Ask him about $45 Brussels sprouts. If he wants to talk about anything, ask him about buying $45 Brussels sprouts. That's an interesting conversation. Let's see how he responds to that one.
Well, I need to have a chat with Dan because I need to get him back on.
Yeah,
he's
got a lot going on. He really does. It's awesome. I'm so excited for him.
We've got to because he's coming over next year to do the Bosworth event for us.
Yes.
Sorry, I'm just blocking people as I'm chatting to you. Sorry. There we go. I can't remember what it was now, but during the interview I said something to him, and his response, it really took me aback, and I was like, I literally just didn't know what to say. Nobody does that to me. I just honestly didn't know what to say, and I was like, okay, because I was just like thrown. I was like, what? Well, that's like 33 pounds. What? Sorry, you got on the Brussels sprouts conversation now.
Like
Gemma, one of our team.
Gemma, $45 Brussels sprouts. I kid you not.
And Dan's replied, 33 pounds in English money. 33 pounds. What is wrong with you?
See, I don't know how to translate into pounds, but yeah, we went out to dinner. Me and him and Nick one time, and we were at this place, and we were gonna share stuff, and he wanted, they were glazed with maple syrup and bacon. Don't get me wrong, they were great, but they were like literally
33 pounds.
33 pounds.
Sorry.
$45 in US.
Wow.
So that's like the joke.
33 pounds.
Yeah.
Like.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's what he's gonna get. He's gonna get those for his birthday.
And our child.
He's gonna get those for his birthday every year now. That's all he gets.
What, Brussels sprouts? With the maple spirit in the you're gonna give this maple syrup a bottle of and the bacon. You can make it your own.
Yeah. It's either that or I'm just gonna make him a bunch of it, and that'll be save myself.
Every time you're gonna make it, it'd be coming around all the time.
I know. Yep. Dan knows how much I like to cook.
Do you do a lot of Italian cooking?
Yes. Yeah. But I grew up, that's what I learned growing up. It was like typical Italian family. My grandmother taught me to cook, to bake. We used to crochet and knit and sew. And so she would teach me all of that stuff. And so I always say I'm like a little old Italian woman in a young body. So yeah, I cook a lot, and I'm introducing Nick to a lot of Italian food that maybe he hadn't had before. So it's fun.
See, he does a lot of running and stuff, doesn't he? He likes all his exercising.
Yes.
All that stuff.
Yeah. Very, very in shape. I love it.
That means I take it there's not very often you're both having like maple syrup, bacon, sprouts in your house.
Don't get me wrong. We love to eat. Like we love to eat. So we definitely splurge. We do. But I cook, I cook a lot. We get busy, and don't get me wrong, we go out, but I cook a lot, and I love doing that kind of stuff. So
yeah, because you come across it as much as you love going out and doing the exploring. You're very homely because you've got your family and everything else. So
I always say like I was like the good child growing up because I even in high school and stuff, like I didn't go out, I didn't party. I was always with my grandmother. I was home. I just enjoyed being home. I wasn't that type of person. So
yeah, see, crochet, I can do that. I was taught to do that. Knitting, no, tried it. I just Sore fingers and thumbs, just couldn't do it.
Yeah, it's harder.
We have some strange things in common, Tessa. Some really.
I'm telling you. I love it.
Oh, bless you. Right, he's given up now. He's stopped talking to us now. Nancy says she'll bring the Canadian maple syrup.
Perfect. That's perfect.
Is it different?
The Canadian? You know, I don't know, because, you know, the maple syrup I get here is from New York. But they do sell Canadian maple syrup here. I'm going to have to try it and see if there is a real difference between it.
I just really random, completely off subject, but it's Dan's fault. But I just had to ask.
Absolutely.
Obviously, it's Dan's fault.
Yeah.
Right, one more question for you, because I'm obviously taken up a lot of your time this evening. Well, this afternoon for you, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
So, Tessa, have you ever had an angelic spirit speak to you?
Oh, that's an awesome question, Jody. I think, you know, what I was telling you, my experience when I was a child where those figures came in. Now, mind you, I was very young, so I can't necessarily say I recollect everything, but I will say that experience stands out to me because you hear about these angelic figures, right? And what does it feel like? What does it look like? And you hear these commonalities of there's white lights and it feels warm and it's all these things. And I think that my very first experience when they came into my room was just that. I think that it was angelic. I think it was, you know, in whatever way or belief system you have of what angelic would mean to you, I think that it was a healing energy that came in. It felt different than a lot of the experiences that I've had, and that's why it stands out so much. And with my body being so compromised in the way that it was, I absolutely needed the healing. You know, there was a very good chance that I could have died from what happened to me. So I think that was an angelic figure or figures that came in to basically say, it's okay, we got you, we're working on it. And here I am. So, you know, I do believe that I've had those experiences. And I think that throughout my journey as a medium, that there's been a couple other times where I felt something very positive, something that could be considered angelic. You know, and I believe that there's always those energies around us. You know, it's really interesting that Jody asked that, and this is kind of cool. My son, my oldest son is, I say he's a medium. He has the exact same ability as me. And he would tell the wildest stories. Like he would say that he used to be up in the clouds before he was born, and he looked down and he decided that I would be his mom. He chose me, and then he came down to me. And then he would tell me there's angels on the roof. Like it was the street. And I'm talking, he was young. Like he was young. He had told me that my grandmother was going to die before she did. It was the night before. And he said, why is, you know, Nana going to the angels? And I'm like, she's not, you know, she's fine. I don't, you know, but it had me thinking. In the following morning when I was taking him off to pre-K, he was like, oh, Nana went to see the angels. And I called my father, and he was with an ambulance at my grandmother's house at that moment. And he had walked in and found her. And so I really started paying attention to a lot of what he was saying because he was so accurate. And for nights and nights and nights, he would say, the angels are on the roof. They're sitting on the roof of the house to protect us. And so I don't know if there's a correlation between kids because they are so open and pure, that they maybe are more in tune with that type of stuff more so than, say, me. Do I believe that they're around? Yes. But I think children see it and feel it more just based on my experience, you know, and my experience as a kid as well.
See, my niece literally moved house a week and a half ago, and she called me the other night in a little bit of a stress, panic. When she was small, my sister had someone come around and basically cleanse the house, and then the lady said that she'd shut down both the girls because they're both completely open, and it was them that was inviting everything in. Okay. And that's why they're having so many problems in the home. Mm-hmm. Whether she did actually shut them down or not, who's to say? I don't know. But yeah, she moved to this house, and she said, you need to come to my house. I'm like, why? What's wrong? She's like, okay, so, and this is how she explains. This is how she explains her stories. This is how they go. Yeah. So what happened was, she said, I saw this toddler. She's got a 2-year-old. So I saw this toddler walk from the one door out into the garden. I said, yeah. And then she shouted her son and said, what you doing? Because she was like, well, what's he doing going in the garden, you know?
Yeah.
She said, and then he came running through the hallway into the kitchen. And she said, I just because this child was in the utility room. I only saw a quick glimpse, but she saw this toddler in the utility room.
Yeah.
And then when she called him and he came running through the hallway from the front room, she went into a little bit of a panic.
Yeah.
Because she's like, I definitely saw it, she said.
Yeah.
And then she said she stood in the kitchen again, but this time she said she saw an adult. I think she said it was a female, just walked through the hallway and then just disappeared.
Oh, wow.
Both that happened the same day. Both of those happened on Friday.
Okay.
And she said, and she's literally framing because she was freaking out about it. And I said, okay, don't worry. And she was saying to me, where they used to live before, her son used to say about the shadows all the time.
Yeah.
He said, Mummy, I don't like the shadows. And he used to get really frightened at bedtime. And that's what it was. They said he didn't like the shadows. And then she showed him what shadows are and showed him how to create animals and things like that. And showed him all of that. So no, he's not frightened. So now the shadows are now monsters because they're not shadows, because he now knows they're not shadows anymore.
Right.
And I went over at the weekend, and then I spoke to her Sunday evening, and she said, okay, I don't know, you need to do something. She said, because I've seen even more, she said, in the last 2 days. I said, and I don't like it.
Yeah.
She said, and I don't like it. And I was like, well, don't be frightened. We're not there to hurt you or anything.
Right. And that technique I was talking about, the bubble thing,
yep,
really useful for her son, because, you know, once kids are so open to it, but when they know I can block that out and I could protect myself, and, you know, I don't have to be scared, it'll calm down. She could use it, he could use it. So you should relay that to her and see if that works for her.
Yeah, I've explained all the different things to her and everything, because she never used to believe in it.
Right. They don't believe in it until you have
it. But yeah, her son, like I said, he's only 2, and he has conversations. And the other day, I've got a great niece, and she's only 1. She literally just turned 1 in the last few weeks. Ask her where her granddad is, which is my dad, which would be her great granddad. If you ask her where he is, she would look around the room, and then she will point to a photo of him, and she's 1.
That's amazing.
She's 1, and he passed 8 years ago.
Yep. And it's cool because, you know, it's very common with children, because they, you know, they come to the kids and they know that they're born, and they maintain that connection, and kids could see them so vividly that it's like kids don't comprehend what is real and what's not in that moment, you know, and so they feel like they know who that is, and they do know who it is because they're there communicating with them. And I think it's amazing.
But she actually videoed it the other day just to prove it, to show everybody, look, I'm not pointing at anything. I'm not telling her anything. And she wasn't even at home. She was actually at her nan's. She was at my mum's. So she wasn't even in her own house.
I love that.
With her own pictures.
Yeah.
So, but she videoed it. She looked around the room, and then she pointed at the photo and told her exactly where he was.
Yeah.
But she's done it with me before. And I said, where's Granddad? And she'll look, and she's actually pointed to the kitchen, or she's pointed across the room and not at a picture. And I said to her, my niece, my dad, like I said, he's her granddad, but he was the only dad she ever had. And he was with her when she was in labor, because it was during COVID. So you weren't allowed partners with you. So she was on her own at the hospital. And she was WhatsApping, like, we had a family group chat, and she was WhatsApping everything, because obviously she was on her own, first child, in a panic. And I said, don't worry. I said, your granddad's with you. And he's walking backwards and forwards along the side of the bed. And he's getting really annoyed. What has the nurse not done? And then I won't go into details, but yeah. And then she came and she said what the nurse hadn't done. And I was like, okay, so that's why he was getting annoyed. And he was pacing, and that's why. And he's just said to me, he's annoyed with the nurse. So I sent her this message early afternoon. Why is your granddad annoyed with the nurse, and why is he pacing?
Yeah.
But it's because they hadn't checked her for so long. They're supposed to come back and checked her.
Right.
And the nurse that's supposed to come back didn't, because she went off somewhere else. And then she was left longer than what she should have been. Yeah. And that's why he was annoyed.
Isn't it amazing that what you can bring through it?
Tessa, I have literally taken up so much of your time. I'm so sorry.
That's okay. I
can't help it. It's because it's so interesting talking to you.
I know. I love it. I really appreciate you even having me on.
Well, you're always welcome anytime. One more question. I just have one last question from Nancy. I will ask your question, Nancy. I do apologise because you did put it on there quite a while ago, and then I will allow Tessa to go off and continue with her day. When are you looking to go to Fallsview or Toronto? Do you know? Be next year?
It would probably be next year. Yeah. It's going to be next year, hopefully. I have a lot of things. There's a lot of locations in the U.S. that I'm looking into. There's you know, I have family and I have a big following in like New Jersey, Long Island area, New Jersey and New York. So that's one of them. Florida is another. Carolinas I was thinking about, and then definitely Canada. So Fallsview, but I think Fallsview would be more so next year. Yeah, I would expect that more towards hopefully the summer, somewhere around there.
We're October now. It's like we're running out of. This year's gone so fast. It's ridiculous. We're just running out of time. I want to say thank you ever so much for joining me.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
There's just thank you everybody for watching. Like, time just gone. I know. Every so often it just reappears.
Yeah. I'm like, what the heck?
Don't leave me just yet. I'm going to take us both off the screen. I'm going to end the show with a promotional video for our event for March next year here in the UK. If anybody's interested, hang around for an extra minute just to watch the video. Tessa, I will put you back in the green room and I will join you in just a moment.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
For watching.
Wow. The time has gone so fast. I'm so sorry if I missed one of your comments or one of your questions, but it just means we're going to have to get this gorgeous woman back on again so we can talk to her some more. I hope that you've enjoyed the conversations we've had this evening, and that also that you might have even learned something too, because I know I have, so I hope you have too. I want to say thank you all for watching. Have a lovely afternoon if you're across the pond, and have a lovely evening if you're over here. Just want to say thank you and good night, everyone.